Good evening, guys. Thank you for joining the ninth episode of our Salesforce MVP series. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Neil, and I'm the managing director of M&L Consultancy, and I'm the Salesforce. I'm a Salesforce MVP as well. Um, yeah, and we would like to welcome Amanda from London, who will share to us today her experience as a Salesforce admin and her current role right now. Joey?
All right. Yep. So just to introduce myself, I'm Joey Chan. I'm the founder and principal consultant and technical architect for Cloud Jedi Solutions. So I'm also a community group leader in the Philippines and rated as #1 developer on the App Exchange. And I've been with the ecosystem for around 12 years now. So just to introduce our speaker for today. So he has worked with Salesforce platform since 2007 in both end user and consultancy roles across many industry sectors, including media and financial services. She specializes in digital transformation and change management and promotes successful adoption of digital strategy for customers and their customers. So let us welcome our Salesforce MVP for today, Amanda Beard-Neilson.
Right. Thank you. Nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Welcome, Amanda.
Great. Well, I do have a presentation, so can I share my screen and we can get going?
Yes, go ahead.
Great, let's do that. Let me go over here and I'll start sharing, and you'll see a beautiful backdrop of what's actually a Maldives sunset. There we go. That's yes. Life. That's where I like to be right now. And
yes,
let me drag us back into the world of Salesforce. Here we come. So I'm going to tell you about my journey, my career path of being from an accidental admin to that of a CTO, and actually a career path story. So before I go in depth on that, I'm going to first of all give you a little bit about me. So my name is Amanda Beard-Neilson. It's all my own work, and I am a Salesforce MVP. I am the co-leader for London Admins group in the UK, and I'm also a co-organizer of London's Calling, which is happening next Friday, and it's getting very exciting, and that's why I have a green screen behind me, because it's all preparation for the day. I'm a triple ranger. I am 5 times certified, and I'm also the author of Diary of a Sassy Girl, which is a blog which I write on a monthly basis about all kinds of things, actually, or Salesforce or life stuff. So it's just whatever is coming out of my brain. So today I'm going to be talking about the career path journey. But I would really appreciate if you play along with me. So I want to ask a question of you. And the question is, what did you want to be when you grew up? Now, let me give you some context here. That question has been asked of me many, many times over the years, usually when as a kid, but I really remember a time when I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I was at my first school. We called it primary school in the UK. And we were all asked to think about, what did you want to be when you grew up? And so we were asked to draw a picture of that. And I want you to sort of think about when you were first asked that question of what do you want to be when you grew up? And I want you to think about elements as well. So these are the things I want you to think about. What age are you now? Okay. What gender do you identify as? What country did you grow up in? Because it might be different to where you are now. And what did you want to be when you grew up? I think, what was that first career thought you wanted to be? And was there any role model that inspired you when you thought of this particular job, that you thought, I want to be just like so-and-so? And then I want you to think about, or tell me, what do you do now? Because it'd be interesting to see what you do now versus what you wanted to do when you were a little kid. So I'm just going to give you a moment to think about that. And if you want to share that with me in a minute after I shared mine, then that'd be lovely as well, whether it's on chat or whatever. Joey, I might ask you to look on chat to share that, so that'd be great. But I just want you to have a little think about that. That'd be lovely.
Yep. Sorry, just to clarify, when you're asking about the age, the current age or the age at that point in time?
No, age of today, today's age.
All right.
Yeah, what do you know? Yeah. Okay, so I've given everyone a few little seconds there to think about it. I'm going to share you mine, and we're going to go through and see how we get. So here are my answers to that particular question. So I am 48 years old, getting a bit old. I identify as female, and I grew up in the UK. When I was a child, when I was about 7 or 8 years old, I wanted to be a housewife when I grew up. And I cannot believe that is actually the question. And that's how I actually felt, because my role model was my mother, and my mum didn't work. My mum was at home, and the picture I talked about earlier, when we were little kids and we were asked to draw a picture of what we were going to be. My school friends, you know, someone was drawing, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a fireman, I want to be a bus driver. They all drew all these pictures, and I remember drawing a picture of a woman with an apron around her and holding a cloth because she was cleaning things, and that was being a housewife, and that was it, and that was what I knew, because that was what my mum did, and that's how I did things. So now, when I think about what I do now, I'm a consultant. I work in IT. I work with technology. How on earth did I move from being what I thought was going to be a housewife to being someone working in technology? So, you know, there is a massive leap here. Joey, has anyone shared any of their thoughts here at all?
Yes, there are actually a couple of responses.
Okay.
Would you mind, can we go back to the slide again, the questions? I'm not sure if all of the folks got it. All right.
No, but having some
Yes,
bits would be nice. That would be great.
All right. So can you, do you have access to the chat window?
Yes. Okay. All right. We have. Thank you. Thank you, people, for sharing. So let's look. We got first one, which was lots of things. Oh, wow. That's very cool. Much cooler than me. So the first one I'm looking at is, and I'm sorry if I'm going to get people's names wrong. I don't know if it's a Jorgen or a Georgian, or I don't know, but who's currently.
Hi, Amanda. It's Jürgen.
Oh, ooh, even different. Jürgen.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I got that horribly wrong. I do apologize. So you are 32, you are male, you grew up in the USA, you wanted to be a naval pilot. How cool is that? Did you ever watch Top Gun? And an astronaut as well. Oh my God. And your role models were your parents. Were your parents into these careers?
Vaguely, yeah. My mother, she fixed Apache helicopters at a military base near where we lived, and my father was a tank designer.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. Cool. So, you know, your career then was very influenced, or your aspirations for what you wanted to be when you grew up were very influenced by those sort of those careers that your parents had. That's interesting. And now you're a DevOps team lead. So you went away from being a naval pilot and astronaut, but these are still very sort of engineering kind of backgrounds, to being in DevOps. That's interesting. Thank you for sharing. So next one, we got Erwin. Erwin is currently 40. He's male. He grew up in the Philippines. He wanted to be an ice cream vendor. Awesome job. And because you were inspired by the local ice cream vendor, and you're now a consultant, that's just genius. Did you regularly visit the ice cream place?
You get to taste all of it, right? So.
I just wanted ice cream all to myself.
The question is, though, if you were an ice cream vendor, would you have actually made any profits, or would you have just kept all the ice cream to yourself?
Good question.
Thank you for sharing that.
It's
That's
worth
great.
it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. So we got Adrian. Adrian, you are 25. You are male. You grew up in the Philippines. You wanted to be a scientist. Oh, Dexter was your influence. Dexter's laboratory cartoon. I know of Dexter being the very lovely murderer, and you're now a software engineer. So there's still background of science and connections there as well. So that's interesting. What's Dexter's laboratory cartoon?
It was a Sunday morning cartoon back in the 90s. I think it's still being aired. It's re-aired until now. So yeah.
Cartoon
Brilliant.
Network, if you're familiar.
Amazing, thank you. We have Ed. Ed is 34. He's male. He's come from the Philippines. He wanted to be a zookeeper. Oh, that's often quite a popular one as well. And Jeff Corwin, and he's now a Salesforce admin. Who is Jeff Corwin, Ed?
He's an American. I remember him from Discovery Channel. He's one of those guys that travel everywhere, see the animals, talk about them. So I wanted to be that guy.
Was there a particular animal that you wanted to look after as being a zookeeper?
I actually love sea animals, so anything related to sea. So yeah.
Amazing. So hanging out with dolphins and the whales and
right, yeah.
very, very cool.
Very
cool. Thank you for sharing that. And I've got a next one here, which is Cleo. Cleo's 24, male. I'm assuming Philippines is PH. You wanted to be an attorney. Not really sure about that one. Little smiley face there. And you got that inference from Goku, and you're now a developer. So you wanted to go into law. So what was Goku that influenced you?
Yep, I was influenced by my parents, but when I saw the study needed in order to become an attorney, I just switched my dream.
Yeah, to be lawyers, it's hard work. Very difficult profession to get into, and you've got to learn stuff, and you've got to retain dates, lots and lots of dates. I seem to remember when I did a bit of law studying, it was hard work. So I'm going to move on and head on to Ronald. Ronald is 41, male. He wanted to be a QC. That's also a legal profession as well, I believe. And you got influence from, or possibly a scientist by the sounds of it. No influences. That's interesting. But now you're a development lead. So Ronald, why being a QC or a scientist? Where was that influence to suddenly get out there? Did you watch a cartoon or something?
Pardon?
Hello.
Hi. So pardon, I wasn't able to get that.
Oh, so you wrote none. There's no influence at all. So
yeah,
how did
I was thinking, what shows did I watch during my childhood, and I couldn't remember any names. I just put none.
Fair enough. But see, sometimes it's not about just people. It could be TV shows that could influence you. There's all kinds of things. Or the guy down the road who's selling ice cream. There we go. We pick up influences.
We can use Bill Nye probably.
So there we go. But thank you for sharing those. And sure. We've got oh gosh, well, lots actually. Thank you very much. So let's Joey. Joey is 32, a young slip of an age of 32. He's male, grew up in the Philippines. He's wanted to be a husband. Oh, bless. It says, I wasn't sure my father's occupation since it didn't fit the traditional jobs like fireman, policeman, doctor. He's actually a businessman. Okay. And your influence was your father, and you're now a technical architect. Bless. So you just wanted to be like your dad.
Well, technically in business too. So yes.
Nice, but often those influences are very close to us as well. Often they are our parents that are influenced. And okay, so we have Neil, who is 28 and identifies as being gay. So you can be whoever you want to be. And grew up in the Philippines. A commercial pilot. Oh, that's wicked. That was my second career option, was being a pilot, but I haven't got the vision. And every single pilot, you just cruise all the pilots and just wanted to be a pilot. That's very cool.
I think that's a generic dream for a for a 6 years old.
No, that's cool. Exactly. Pilot, fireman, doctor, all of those are very, very much those elements, aren't they? Brilliant. And now you're a Salesforce architect. So cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, pilot. That was definitely one of mine. Or being and we used to call them air hostess. Well, now they're crew, but for the fact I'm too short, I would have to have stood on a chair, the seat, in order to get up to the things. Customers probably wouldn't have liked that. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more and stop because I've got other things to chat about. So we've got Belle. Belle, hello. You are 26. You're a female. You grew up in the Philippines. You wanted to be a writer and a poet. Wow, that's very romantic. And no influence in particular, but you are now a freelance admin / consultant. I wonder whether those writing influences or poetry elements have come through with your job in the future. Is Belle going to say hello to us and say hi? No? Okay, we'll leave it. So last one. Because there's lots more. Gosh. Glenn is 35. He's male. He grew up in the Philippines. He wanted to be a firefighter. There we go. Another classic one. We got pilot. We got firefighter. Brilliant. And it was his parents who was his influence. And now he's a customer success manager, stroke administrator. I'm curious to know, Glenn, was one of your parents a firefighter?
The frustrated firefighter, actually.
A frustrated firefighter. Oh.
So yeah, they taught me about, you know, being a firefighter, about stuff like that, but yeah, never had a chance. So.
Oh, this is it. Sometimes you can't realize your dreams. You know, you might have this great aspiration, but because of issues, you know, you might not pass a medical, you might not be tall enough, you might not be, I don't know, you might have the vision. There goes another medical thing. All these things might stop you from going into this thing that you thought, I really want to become this career journey, and you have to then think of something else. Okay, I'm going to stop here because we've got lots of other slides, and I appreciate we're taking through time. But thank you to everybody who contributed. I'm really grateful for that. I think that's a bit of a fun exercise. But hopefully it gets you to see that what you think you might want to do when you grow up is actually, it might be very, very different. And so that's okay. And actually our journeys are very, very different. So those are my answers. I'm 48, I'm female, I'm from the UK. I wanted to be a housewife. My mother was my influence, but I'm actually a consultant, and it's a very, very different journey that I took. And I'm kind of grateful for that, because I think I would have been rubbish as a housewife. And well, I still do that stuff, frankly, you know, because that happens, because we all have homes and we want to keep our homes nice and tidy. So it's like, hey, dual role, great. There we go. But I want to talk about my career, what the other career that I had. So, and beforehand, there was a life before Salesforce. Now, with my age, you'll realize that I grew up before Salesforce existed. In fact, I grew up before the internet existed. And so I had very different types of careers and starting points. In fact, when I grew up and thinking about my parents, I was the first person in my family to get a degree. So I grew up doing my first school, where we had exams, and we went on to a secondary level school, did exams as well. And each time I kept passing them, and I went, okay, well, I'll do the next phase. I'll do the next phase. I never assumed as a young kid that I would go and get a degree. That was not my aspirations. So I was the first in my family to get a degree. My parents, my dad was an apprentice, my mum was a secretary. That's what their career paths were. Very, very different. I then went into a sales, marketing, and PR background. Those are the sort of roles I had in my previous life. And then when I was working for a particular company in the business development department, where I was building the team, I was building processes, I was responding to RFPs, my director turned around one day and said, we don't know who our customers are. We need a CRM. And I was like, a what? So I furiously went looking for one, and on Google, because you know, I had the internet then, and found Salesforce. So I discovered Salesforce there and then. I decided, you know what, this feels right. I want to bring this into the business, and I helped to implement it. And so that was my first touch of Salesforce. I became an analyst and a project manager to bring it on board. I then became the admin for the business. So I was a classic accidental admin. I discovered this technology, I brought it into the business, and I had to then look after it. Oh my God. I then moved into IT. And then moving into IT, I then worked on other systems as well. I developed asset management systems. I did all the IT procurement as well. I went on to work on projects and things. So I started seeing wider. And I then left that business and went into contracting, doing other projects, other IT things. And it was back in 2012 when I was coming to the end of a contract, and it was just like, okay, what am I going to do next? And I remember the director where I discovered Salesforce turning out his words and said, you need to get serious about something. You need to specialize in something. If you're wanting to progress, specialize in something. And I sort of thought back of my career that I had so far. And I thought, well, what is it I want to do? And every time I thought about Salesforce, I smiled. I really did. It was quite like, oh my God, you know, I actually like this. How can I like a technology? This is really strange. You know, why do I get all smiley about this? So I thought, okay, right, I'm going to get serious about it. This is it. I'm going to do it. And I went off and got my administrator exam. And with that, I got a project management position in a consultancy. So it's like, oh, landed a position. It was a bit of a growth journey, I'll tell you that, but this is what it was like for me. So I'm going to talk to you about the consultancy years. I worked in a few consultancies. So there's some benefits to the consultancy years. There's one is that it's accelerated learning because you work on lots of different projects with lots of different clients, with lots of different scenarios. And suddenly you realize that Salesforce can be used in lots of different ways. And that's a good thing. But it's very much an input time. And at the same time as well, you are encouraged to get more Salesforce certifications because it helps the business as well as you. And at the same time, they are usually quite collaborative when it comes to PR opportunities, like speaking opportunities with the community, because again, it helps their branding as well as your branding. So all these are great benefits. And there's an element of a work hard and maybe play harder culture as well, lifestyle. There are some challenges. One is that you are effectively a product of the consultancy because you are going out there to deliver a solution, and you've got to be there and work on for that. And sometimes it can be a little bit challenging too, because sometimes customers are asking for the impossible and you have to put that reality check in and deliver what you can deliver as opposed to the impossible, and build that relationship. And also you might have little personal time. You might not, I think consultancy is getting a lot better now. And let's face it, in the past year with COVID, our working practices have changed dramatically. So I think this is now changing. But I learned an awful lot as part of being a part of a consultancy. Lots of different points here. Let's just dive in. So first of all, as I realized that I recognized how I wanted to be treated. And so when I became a manager, I became a great manager because I knew how I wanted to be looked after and how my voice was really important to be heard. Therefore, as a manager, I made sure I listened. I also made sure that I could get clients to buy into me when I was doing pre-sales because, again, I had industry knowledge, I was listening to them, I would understand what their needs are and be able to play that back to them. So they were like, yeah, this is what I want, this is what I want. I could estimate really well as well and give realistic timelines because I didn't just think about, oh, we just need to develop this. Okay, that's nice, but there's testing involved here. We need to get that signed off. And are they ready? Is the client ready? Do we need to give training here? Are we going to do a big bang delivery? Are we going to do it over iterations here? You know, there's a timeline that suddenly stretches when you add those influences. I could raise risks and mitigate them really quickly, or certainly identify them before they became a risk and try and smooth that out before it happened. I could capture processes and identify what's really needed again. It's this concept of like a moon on the stick where the customers go, I want all of this. Oh, that's great. So let's start with the stick and let's work up to the moon if we need that really, but you might just need the stick. Then there was how to be able to read people in a room, especially when you are physically in a room. You might be able to see when you're talking about something that someone's going to agree with you on it, but somebody else might be like, I'm not sure. So then you need to go and chat with them afterwards and go, where's the problem here? How can I get you on board here? There's an element as well when you're working in consultancy that you need to bond quickly with a client to build a relationship, to get something delivered, but you also need to be able to move away from them, that they are self-sufficient, that they can move on afterwards, that they're not forever calling you going, where are you? I can't do this. You need to be able to get them to be self-sufficient. So it's learning those elements. I also learned how to build high-performing teams and to get the best out of them because you need to deliver quickly and then you need to be gone. And you'll need to be able to give them the opportunities to learn new skills and develop their own skills so they feel as if they're being rewarded here and it's a good project to work on. I also recognized how to keep me motivated during project delivery. And this is all about change management. And when you work with change management, you work with this concept of a curve, whereby people go with the idea of, oh my God, this is change, I can't really cope with it, to absolute despair, where it goes really, really bad, to the, oh no, it might be okay, we can do this, and you're coming out again. When you're delivering projects, you go through that same curve. You go through the yeah, no, oh, despair moment, and then up. But you're not meant to go through such despair compared to your clients. You've got to bring those clients up. So you have to recognize when you're going down the curve to stop yourself and to move forward and get you to the next step. So that's really important. And last point is I recognized and I could cut through the bullshit and find out what really, really mattered to a client, as opposed to all these things. I really, really want all this stuff. Okay, yeah, but you need this. So let's concentrate on this need because that's what's going to be important for you. So lots happened in the consultancy years. At the same point of the consultancy years, I also kind of rediscovered the Salesforce community, because Salesforce Community did actually happen. It happened many years prior, but it was in a sort of a different phase. It was actually run very tightly by Salesforce, and as customers, we were invited to come and sit around a table and talk about certain subjects. They realized it wasn't really working, so they kind of pulled away. And then maybe about 10 years ago, they opened it up and just let people from the community run them. And because they kind of let go, but with a parental hand just there, you needed help. They were like, okay, you take them, you run with them. You're the ones who know what to talk about, know what to ask. So go and do that, and we'll be there if you need support. And so these community groups started rolling up. And I actually discovered the London developer one first. And it was, yeah, nice, but they weren't my people, really. And it was actually in end of 2014 when I discovered the London admin group. It just recently started, like a month or two back. And I realized that, no, these are my people. These are my people. I like these people. We talk the same language here. And that really helped me. They were really, really supportive. And it was like a therapy session going every month to chat about all the things that you're working on, and realize that you weren't alone, that other people were experiencing exactly the same things. You're like, oh my God. And then the customer does this. Oh, why? Yeah, I had that too. And they're so useful to be able to share that experience with other people, to know that you're not going crazy, or you have other crazy people around you. So, whatever layer you want to be. So after some consultancy years, I then went into end user years. And this is what I discovered with end users. Now, when I went for this job with this one particular end user, there's an element of being a female and you go for a job and you look at the job description, you go, I can do this and I can do this. Oh, I can't do that. And I haven't got experience of this. I shouldn't go for the job. I'm not right. I'm not right for this job. I shouldn't do it. The male approach, however, is to do the thing of like, well, I can do this and I can do this. And I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go for it. I'll be fine. I'll learn on the job. I'll wing it. So I took the male approach when it came to a particular job advert, and I got an interview. And in the interview with the director, they're chatting away, and I'm listening and I'm recognizing that, and I turned around and said, you're in trouble, aren't you? You don't quite know what you're doing, but I do. And I know I can help you. And I think I can do this job. And it's suddenly like the power shifted away from being, I'm interviewing you and are you good enough, to being, I'm definitely good enough for this job and you need me. You absolutely need me. And I got the job. And it was such an amazing turnaround. And so I suppose a word to anybody actually is, when it comes to a job description, if you don't think you can do it, try. Put the application and see what happens, because nobody will know everything. Therefore, you just have to try and have a go. So when I got in there, I affected massive digital change, and I got an org that was suffering, and had only been working for 4 months and only had 20 users in, but they'd already destroyed it. It was quite impressive just how much they had destroyed within such a short period of time. And over the 3 years I worked there, I moved from 20 users to 500 users over 5 different businesses, lots of different departments, lots of different processes, lots of different integrations with lots of different Salesforce apps. It was very, very busy, very, very busy, lots of integrations as well. So it went from a very poor org to lots happening. I also worked in other companies as well. I built highly high-performing teams as well on a global scale. I worked on multiple Salesforce orgs as well. But it's not just about the technology side of things. It was a journey with leadership and execs of just going, look, you're not just buying tech, and you can't just use technology to fix things. You have to change with people. You have to change processes as well. That's half the journey. It's not just the tech. We just change the tech and everything will magically happen. No, it doesn't. I also didn't just work with Salesforce things. I also worked with other business systems as well. So I had quite a rounded view. And this is what I learned from that a lot of people have this impression that when it comes to end user side, that they are very simple. You're just doing reports and you're just adding users and you're just thinking of tweaking, a couple of fields here and there. Well, actually, no. Some end user implementations are massively ambitious and they want to do an awful lot with their orgs. So you have to have an internal team to help you with that. And you often get on board support from implementation partners as well. When you're there, you have to realize that you have to start influencing people to your thinking. It isn't just a go in and smash and grab and then deliver something and get out again. You have to build long-term relationships with your stakeholders. I remember with one business, someone came up to me, or many times actually, different people came up to me, are you a contractor? And I went, no, I'm here, I'm permanent. So I'm on this journey with you. They're like, oh, okay, that's interesting, because we've had so many contractors just come in and do something and then just get out. Like it was the phrase of the expert of the week has arrived, great. What are they going to do? Great. And then they just disappear. But no, I was here, it was a long time, I was invested. So when you are invested in a product, then you want to build something that you're happy to live with, because you're the one who's going to have to fix it. And you are literally living with that solution as well. So you want to make it a good solution. But with any solution that you build, sometimes you have to accept that sometimes you have to make tactical decisions to move forward, which actually might cause debt, which you then have to go and address in the future. And if anything, that's with any project. It was with one particular end user that they decided to have a career week. And the HR team decided to look at every single department and role, and they drew a career plan for people. And the career plan was a linear path. You start here as a junior and you work up to be senior and take different jobs, whatever. But it was one line. And I looked at this and I thought, that's really interesting. And I thought back at my own career at that point and thought, well, I've come from different types of roles. I've come from different industries. I've worked in different jobs. So I don't fit this path. This doesn't work for me. What was interesting as well about this particular career path that they had put out was that it started off as a junior, but the highest role that you could get was that it was a VP. And I thought, well, hang on, that's also limiting. Why is everyone stopped at a VP level here? There are higher roles in every business, including C-suite, board levels. Why is that not recognized here? I thought it was missing, and it really got to me. And so I wrote my own career path. So I appreciate you are not going to be seeing this, but I'm just going to walk you through a couple of bits here. Now it starts on the left-hand side, and you could be here a junior admin. A junior admin might become an admin and become a senior admin, could become, what else? I've got solution architect, or that admin might go, you know what, I want to get in deeper here. I'm going to become a developer. You might become a junior developer to be a developer, to be a senior developer, and continue on through. But that admin could also go down to a different path. They become product managers, they could become project managers, they become change managers, and you walk through that path as well. What I recognize with Salesforce is that whatever path you start with, it doesn't have to be a linear journey. It can be all kinds of journeys, and you're not limited. It really is all about what you want to do, what your skills are, and where you want to go next. And I call it career spaghetti, because it isn't about a linear journey. And I also made sure that actually whatever path you started at and what route you could take, you could end up in C-suite roles. And from C-suite, you could be in board level roles, because you can be. Because nowadays technology and how we work with it and how we influence it, you can reach those levels. It's not away from you. And so with this in mind, I left that particular company because they're like, well, that's nice, thanks, that's limiting. Went back into contracting, and whilst I was contracting, I was then approached for a CTO role, and I was incredibly flattered by that, because I don't know many women who are CTOs. And that alone was just like, oh my word, I've been asked to be a CTO, good grief, am I up for the job? Sure, I know some technical side of things, but actually when it's a CTO role, you have to have the human side too. You've got a blend of both here. So, okay, I'll give it a go. And I got the job, and it was all very exciting. And the whole of certainly the UK community was like, oh my God, Amanda's a CTO. This is so cool. And suddenly there's massive pressure on me, like, oh, I'm a CTO, oh my God. So this is what happened next. So 2 weeks into the job, I actually gave this particular talk. So, you know, it was, I'm giving a version of it today. So 2 weeks into the job, this is how I was feeling. I had a massive overload of information going on because it's like, oh my God, I've arrived at this business. What's going on? All this stuff happening. I felt overwhelmed because of the situation the business was in. There was a lot to be done. And there was also a lot of demand from the clients turning around to me or turning around to the business going, we need this, we need this, we need this. I needed patience, which was a demand from me because I'm not a very patient person. And I needed to focus on the quick wins. There were an awful lot of fires in this business and I just needed to put out some fires. But I knew deep down that I could make a difference. It was just that would the business allow me to make a difference? I felt massive, massive pressure in this role. And I knew very early, and I knew at that point of 2 weeks, even when I was giving this presentation, because people are going, oh my God, Amanda's the CTO and she's a female. Oh God, let's get her to talk about stuff. And here's a podcast and come to a conference and talk about things. Oh my God, the pressure. Knowing that, I felt terrible in this role. I felt that I wasn't performing and that I couldn't deliver. I could not fix this business because I did not have the tools in me or around me to do it. I didn't have the resource, I didn't have the money, and I certainly didn't have the time that I needed to fix the fires. And I also felt that all the fires that were going on, that if I literally turned around, there were people in the company who were setting off new fires everywhere. So it was just, oh my God, completely untenable. And so I had to have a think. And there's an element whereby if you don't feel psychologically safe in a job, then you can't contribute and you can't do good, and you don't feel as if you're being listened to, you don't feel as if you're being respected, you don't feel as if you're being valued, you can't actually achieve anything. And that's how I was feeling. I was not safe. I felt that every day I was walking into the office, I was miserable. This was just, it wasn't good for my own mental health. So it was something that I had to pull away from and to leave. It was just untenable. And I'm currently reading Steve Jobs' book. It's really interesting, actually, his own career background. He was a real difficult person to work with. But one quote here is, the only way to do great work is to love what you do. And if you haven't found it yet, keep looking and don't settle. And I think that's a really pertinent quote, because I had found what I love doing. I love working with Salesforce. I love the potential what Salesforce can bring. But it also has to be in the right environment, the environment where you can thrive and you can do good and you can actually work through that is so, so important. So I've done lots of different roles, and everyone looks at my CV, they go, wow, you've done loads. Yeah, I've done loads. And I've got a background in sales and marketing and PR, and I go into IT now. And then I discovered Salesforce, and then that kind of threw me into that sort of world of Salesforce. And I've done different roles working within Salesforce, and I've learned an awful lot. I think as a person, as I grow old, I'm 48, don't forget, I've learned my strengths and I've learned my weaknesses. And taking that role, which I thought was a real pinnacle of, wow, I'm a C-suite, this is really amazing, actually wasn't what it was all cracked up to be. It wasn't the role that was right for me. And it's okay to recognize that, and it's okay to walk away from that, and it's okay to realize that that wasn't right. And it's good to explore these things and to experiment, and no experiment is a failure. It just means that it wasn't right and you learn from it. And I think that's so important, because if I'd stayed in that role, I was miserable. And I remember working with the London's Calling team, actually, for gosh, it would have been for the 2020 event, and they could see me coming in for meetings going, are you all right, because you are not yourself, and this it does. I said, like, it's fine, I know it's not right, and I'm dealing with it, and it will not last long, and I will be back, do not worry. And as soon as I left, and I went straight back into the contracting role that I'd left to go to, I immediately came back again, because I knew that I was in a position that I could work and I could do good and I could deliver, and I was being valuable and I was being valued as well. So I kind of give some advice here of going to keep learning and growing. Whatever you're doing, whatever jobs you're doing, it's okay to start thinking about, why are you doing these certain things? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And look wider than just Trailhead or Salesforce certifications. These are some of the books that are on my bookshelf that I have read or are in my list to read as well. And a lot of these aren't technical books. These are very much human side of books, and how we communicate and who we as people are, and how we relate to other people as well, mainly because the roles that I take within the Salesforce ecosystem are about delivery. It isn't hard technical side of things. So I do want to know about the person. I do want to know how I'm going to influence them, how I can deliver something. So these are books that I like to read. So what is the secret of my success? Well, first of all, is to believe in yourself, even when you are in a position where you are miserable, even when you know deep down that, or even that deep, it's just so blatantly obvious that this job that you're on is completely wrong for you and this is not the right thing. Believe in yourself and keep going, and to learn from your mistakes, and to know that you can ask for help. And this is why I think the community is so strong, because we have all got so many different parts of knowledge and experience that you can put a question out there about anything, whether it be a technical question or a life question, and someone will be there to help you and to give you that support and to give you some advice. But to share your experiences as well, and this is what I'm doing here today, is to share my experience of thinking that from being an admin, from being a housewife, frankly, from thinking I was going to be a housewife to being an accidental admin, to becoming a CTO and thinking that was amazing to become a CTO, and realizing it was not my journey, and realizing that I have a different path, and that's okay. That it's all part of career spaghetti as well, and that's okay as well, because there are different paths we can take because of the skills that we have learned, because they are so adaptable, because you can do so much. It's okay to make time for yourself and make time for others as well, because you don't know when you can help other people with just a question that might just really, really help them out. And also, I think definitely because of this past years, to be kind to yourself as well. We can't do everything, and maybe some paths aren't right for us, and that's okay. And it's okay to not compare. So I suppose I want to give you this thought as well, is that it is your journey and it's not someone else's. Don't look at anyone else's path and think you have to do the same as them, because it might not be right for you. Don't look at job titles and think that you have to aspire to be that particular job title, because again, it might not be right for you. It's okay to go for it if it feels right, but it's all about your own personal journey, and that's okay. Think about what makes you happy. Think about what stretches you and allows you to have that element of continuous learning, to bring your authentic self and not feel as if you are trapped and miserable in a particular role as well. And these are the things that are most important, I think, because if you have that environment where you feel safe, that you can be yourself, that you can grow, that you can help people, then that's where you will really sort of dynamically move forward. And I think that's mostly important than a job title. So thank you for listening. I wish you well, and wherever your career journey takes you.
Awesome. Thank you, Amanda.
You're welcome.
Any questions from the audience? Yes.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting how you really, I know most of the folks here came here to learn about Salesforce and all that, but I'm pretty sure what Amanda presented here is so much more than just Salesforce, right? Because at the end of the day, it's also life lessons that we have to learn that, of course, is very important, right? So there's always expectations from society. So it's up to us to carve our own path, right? So yeah, thank you for that, and really a privilege to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for listening as well. I'm just having a quick look on the chat here, and Erwin was loving career spaghetti. Thank you very much. It's something I take deep to heart. I loved career spaghetti myself when I created it. I was like, oh, this is career spaghetti, definitely. So no, it's great. And I have got a chat here from Jorgen, and I'm sorry if I got that wrong again. I do apologize. And I'm just going to read as I read.
You're fine. Yeah, you're fine.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. it says it's not by any means specific to IT industry, but people tend to conceal failures, yeah, and only share and celebrate success, which is very true. Think about our Instagram accounts, which was all about, you know, happiness and rainbows and things, and life isn't like that. And, you know, we do some things, and some things we have mistakes, and we learn from mistakes. We always learn. They sit deep with us, mistakes. So, and it's absolutely right. This whole promotes this culture of shame and around failure, which is very frustrating. Failure is essential for success. I totally agree. As well, often failures are more interesting and where we really form our opinions, habits, and feelings on the subject. So, so thank you. And it says, I'm so pleased to listen to the way you talk about your journey and focus on where you felt boxed in and how you navigated that. So thank you very much. And it's true, and it was a very hard part of my time, actually, of my life, was realizing that I left a contract that I really enjoyed to take on this, oh my God, this is a really amazing CTO role, which was horrible, really, really horrible, which made me miserable within minutes of almost being in the business, and realizing that I could make these changes, but for the fact I was not given the resources, the people, and the time to do that. I could really make those differences, which was, again, frustrating. But you live and you learn, and sometimes it's best to walk away from these things. And it's not failure in that respect, because you're protecting yourself and you know what's right for you to move on with. And I think that's really, really important. And yes, we don't talk about these things because it is considered as shameful. And one of the books I've mentioned in that list was Brené Brown, Dare to Lead, and she talks a lot about shame and how we prevent talking about things, we prevent moving our lives forward because there's prospect of shame as well. And we should not be shameful. We should just go, you know what, that didn't work out, I need to learn from it, and I'm going to move forward. And I think that's okay to do that. So there we are. So we've got Ed. It's nice to know that we are looking at our own career paths. The spaghetti does exist. It does. It really does exist, because, you know, we start off, say, as an admin, and we might go, yeah, but this looks really cool, I want to go this direction, that's great. And then you go, well, I've done this for about 6 months, a year, I want to go down this direction, and it's all good, it's all great. And I think like consultancies, for example, larger consultancies can embrace that, because they realize your skills, and they realize that you're developing as a person. This whole concept that people ask you, what do you want to be in 5 years' time? I can't answer that. I can never answer that. Who knew when I was growing up that I'd be going to work in a technology that hadn't been existed yet? How can you ask anyone of that? That boxes people in. I think it's a terrible question nowadays. I think you shouldn't do it. So there we are. I wish everyone the best of luck with your careers, and the fact that whatever you do today doesn't have to be the thing that you do in a year's time or 2 years' time, and there could be something that is discovered in 5 years' time which will blow our minds, and we will jump on. And I think the industry that we are in and the mindset that we have allows us to think like that, and allows us to jump onto the new thing and go, yeah, let's explore this. And I think always have that learning mindset, and it's called like a beginner's mindset as well, where you're always looking and you're always learning and you're always thinking, yeah, how can I do this, and how can I do this better? And I suppose back to London's Calling and the plug of our keynote. Our keynote is a futurist, and he has this sort of mindset as well of always learning about how do we do this better. What we do now, should we be doing that? Should we be doing that? Are we doing this right? I even learned how to crack an egg because of him. Simple things like that. I've been cracking eggs wrong all my life, and now I know how to crack an egg properly. So we can always learn stuff. I'm going to stop talking now, because I think I'm talking way too much, and I'm going to take up all the hours. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. It's been lovely.
No, it's all good though. So I guess you might also want to plug London's Calling for those that are interested. I actually also sent over the link. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Maybe
yes.
Send an invite.
Indeed. So in the chat is londonscalling.net. It is happening on the 19th of March from 9 o'clock UK timeline. I appreciate that's going to be a lot later in your timeline. We'd love to see you. And it's our 6th year. It's been an interesting couple of years. We certainly pivoted very, very quickly last year from being all in-person format to a hybrid format. Last year we had some speakers and some sponsors at the venue. We turned the venue into a TV station. This year we're being a lot kinder to ourselves, and we made the assumption that we were going to be virtual, and yes we are, and because our world isn't quite yet back, and so we are virtual this year, and I really do hope that next year we'll be back in person, which will be lovely. So please come and join us.
Yep, looking forward to it then.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I'll stop the recording. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you so much.